They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet. Gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen. In Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Funding for Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen is brought to you by the City of Stanford, Kentucky. Come back home to Stanford. L81 Bottling Company. Taste, love, and share the tradition. Woods Equipment Company has every tool you need to make working the land as rewarding as hunting it. Good Foods Co-op, Marksbury Farm Market, Weisenberger Mill, your village shop.
Hello and welcome to Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. What we got sitting over here, Nikki?
Big old ham.
That's what I'm talking about. You know what? When we were doing the hominy thing last week, what wonderful people, by the way, and what a cool process and what a good recipe we got.
That was nice.
There was a fellow up there, he talked about putting the pig to sleep. It's an old-fashioned way of cooking a ham. And there's a lot of people say that this is the absolute number one, no doubt about it, way to cook a ham. Now, you could do this in just water, and that's all you need. Now, I'm going to take and fancy it up just a little bit because I like some sweetness.
I figured you would.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to put this pig to sleep, is what they call it in the old-fashioned days. People used to do this in a lard can, like that back there. They used to take it and put it in a lard can. The whole point of the thing is to keep it in the pot. So you will have to have something that you can do
with the water still.
With the water.
Really? Okay.
Now, you want to have enough water to cover that pig, 3 or 4 inches at least. So we got our water starting to heat up. Let's go ahead and I'm going to let you put that in there. All right, now here's what I'm going to do because I can.
Okay.
I'm going to take some pineapples with some pineapple juice. That will not harm the taste of that. Now we're going to take some brown sugar. That won't hurt anything. And it's good for you, I heard.
Sugar's good.
All the people at the brown sugar factory say it's really good for you. We're going to take your ginger soda. See, now we're getting it covered up. Oh, yeah, it's beginning to boil. Now we're going to take some cloves. Have you seen the price of cloves lately? Seriously?
Expensive, yeah.
I mean, we may have to
grow cloves.
I don't think we'll do that. And we're going to bring that to the boil. Now, keep in mind, that after you place this in here, we've got 2 towels now in the cooler. Now, tomorrow, 12 hours from now, be careful. When you open that back up, that water's going to be hot enough to burn you.
Really?
When it's in the cooler and wrapped up like that, it really is. So I'm seeing a little activity here. We're getting some bubbles. Now, not too long from now, we're going to take our pig to be processed. Now, way back, in fact, our first show ever was the old-time hog killing.
That's right.
Which has got close to 1 million views now. Now, that old-time hog killing, that shows the way they did way back. You know, there were some modern methods there. But I want to go for more an industrial look at a way that a processor would take care of that pig. I'm going to take it someplace where they will do a custom cut for you when you ask them to do such a thing. But in doing this, you remember what we did with the beef? Remember how they cut it all up? And we showed part by part. We're going to do the same thing with the pig to give everybody a really good overview of what goes where.
I'd love to know
what's
that.
Pork belly? What's this? What's that? Where's this come from? Where's that come from?
Yeah.
But first of all, let's get this up to a good rolling boil. I want to get it good and hot. Now we have sufficiently got our ham up to temperature.
It smells good.
That is good. Now I am going to have a two-handed person do this. I want you to be careful because this is very dangerous.
Okay.
I have seen You did this one time.
Boiled my foot.
Yeah.
I'll be careful.
I saw my father hurt himself like this one
Yeah.
time, so be really, really careful. Let's go ahead and
Okay.
put the top on. And this is going to go into the cooler. Look at that. Close her down. Now, that's not a expensive cooler.
No.
It's just a typical cooler. One you can shut and seal fairly good.
Right.
We got the extra blankets and towels in there for protection, and guess what?
We just leave it now?
We leave it. We
Okay.
walk away. 12 hours
I like
later, we
that.
come back. Now, again, it's deceiving when you have that wrap around there, then
Right.
the cooler on top there. That water will burn you tomorrow, 12 hours from now.
Really?
And now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take folks there, show them each part of the pig, what you buy in the store, what cut it is. Let's do that right now. Then we'll be back tomorrow with our ham recipe.
Yum.
We're back in Garrett County for the Leonard and Mark show. Now, last time we were here, they cut up a beef. Such a positive response to that. We get people from all over the world that are watching this segment on beef. Guess what? Today, who we got right here?
Large Marge.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, I like my pork, and you say it's not going to take as long with pig.
Shouldn't take long. Yep, pretty simple.
So I'm going to step back and let's get this process going.
All right, sounds great. Just going to use our low rater to drop the pig down. So now we have two separate halves of the pig. What we have here is the soot off the pig and the kidneys. It's good, clean fat. People make bird feed out of this, but really the best use for it is to render it down, make lard. So Mark's cutting a third rib here. That's going to separate the shoulder from the rest of the carcass. And he's going to cut right behind the H-bone on the pig here. So this is the front shoulder and the head attached to the pig. Mark's going to remove the head, and then we'll break down the head to show you different things that we can do with that. So when we have the head, there's two or three different things we can do with this. First thing you'll notice is this big piece of meat here. This is the jowl, but most commonly you hear jowl bacon, and this is the jowl. Now what you would do with this is you would run it through a cure, maybe let it soak or use an injector, and smoke it, and then you would slice it just like you would bacon. Underneath this jowl is a little piece of heaven it's called cheek meat. I don't know if you've ever had cheek meat, Tim, but it's very tender, great piece of meat. This is the whole shoulder. So he's just using his knife to kind of go along the seam and the bone of the neck bones, leaving as much meat as possible on the Boston butt and the picnic. We have the neck bones, which is great for stock and stew meat and things like that. So here's just a flap of meat that's going to come off the picnic and the Boston butt here. And you can use this for country ribs, just a lean piece of meat here. You'd use it for sausage, great for sausage. Now what we're going to have here is Mark take off the copa, and then we're going to make some steaks for the copa. So the copa, what the copa is, this is a nice, it's pretty much like the chuck eye on a beef, but it's well marbled, it's tender, and has great flavor. We have a couple different parts that we're going to remove. We're going to take the shank off from the picnic. And what we've done with it, we've cross-cut it. This would be great for braising in your oven. See a lot of meat in there, a lot of lean meat, so that's what makes it great for braising. This is the picnic. What a lot of people would do with this is they would just cut it in half, make a 2 to 3 pound roast, or it would be added to trim to make sausage. So what we have here is we have the whole Boston butt. You know, this probably weighs around 10 to 12 pounds. Perfect for your home smoker. You know, you're going to get roughly 60% of your yield off this. And, you know, it's going to be great for pulled pork. You know, if you just want to make a sandwich out of it, whatever you want to do. So Mark's just following the seam of the copa. It's a very small seam. Restaurants a lot of times use it for steaks. But, you know, this is the copa as its whole. We're just going to cut it into, you know, about 1-inch steaks here, and we'll show you what they look like. So if we look here, you see those perfect little medallions.
I would imagine for grilling that would just be amazing.
Yeah, if you have a date, this might be what you need to take her on. Now this is the midsection of the pig. So what we have here is the rib section and the loin, the sirloin tip here, or the sirloin roast on a pig. We have the spare ribs and the baby back ribs. We also have the pork belly, which would be cut off and made into bacon. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half, separate the loin from the belly. Now in the loin section, this here is the tenderloin. A lot of times, and it's often mistaken in stores that the tenderloin is much larger. When you see a tenderloin that's this big and weighs about 7 pounds in a store, what they're actually talking about is a boneless loin, which we'll show you here in a second. But the tenderloin, you know, it weighs roughly a pound and a half. Off really big pigs, you can get up to 3 pounds, but very small, tender piece of meat. We'll have Mark go ahead and remove this for you. He's just going to follow the backbone down the loin here. You can see that once he gets it cut, he can basically just pull it away from the seams. It's one of the greatest pieces on the pork. We're going to remove the sirloin. We're going to start this joint here and break it off from the loin. So we're going to remove this bone out of the sirloin. If you wanted a sirloin roast, this is what it would be. I would suggest to take the bone out just because the bone is so large in here, and there's a lot of part of the bone you can't see because it runs throughout the muscle. So this is the sirloin roast, really perfect for a family, you know, right around 3 to 4 pounds, lean, it has a nice fat cap on it. Great piece of meat here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the rib section from the loin section. So we're going to start with the rib section here. Now, if we were to take this bone section off here, these would be where you would get your baby back ribs, but we're going to leave these on for the moment, and we're going to make bone-in pork chops off of these. We're going to show you what a chime pork chop looks like. Does that look pretty good, Tim?
Oh yeah, I know what I'm having tonight.
These are your typical bone-in rib chops. Well, a lot of times what you'll see chefs do is they'll take the bit of meat off the end here and kind of make a handle. So what a chef would call this is a French chop. So basically what you're doing is you're taking the meat off the bone, exposing the bone here. It kind of makes like a little handle here. So what we have left is the loin. What we'll do is we'll take off this bone part right here, we'll take off the chime, and we'll make this into a boneless loin here. This is a very difficult thing to do, be able to get this jagged bone with so many different vertebrae going down the loin out without gouging up the loin. Mark did a great job here. So this would be your typical loin roast. You know, a lot of times what they're doing is they're just cutting a steak off this and frying it up, but we'll leave this whole. There's several things that you could do with it. You could cut your boneless chops off here, or you can leave it whole, which is a great thing to do too, and make a roast off of it. The next part may be everyone's favorite part. What we have here is the belly, and right now it's still got the spare ribs attached. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the spare ribs off. He's just going to take his knife and go around the bone, keeping his knife and blade against the bone, so he's not gouging the belly, but he's leaving some meat on the spare ribs because no one wants to eat spare ribs with no meat on it. So this is the full spare rib. He's going to take the bone off here, the breastplate bone, and then he's going to cut the spare ribs in half. This is easier to cook with. If you have a large family, a full spare ribs is good, but small family, you'd want to cut them in half. That way you can maximize the use of them. How you're going to make bacon off this is you're either going to use two methods. You're going to inject it, or you're going to let it sit and brine for a few days, let it soak up that salt, sugar, whatever your spices may be, and it's going to come out the same, looking the same, and then you just slice very thin, and that's where you get your bacon from. So we're moving on to the ham. We have the shank still attached to the ham, and then we have the actual ham up here. Then you can see where the sirloin was removed. Now, the ham can be done in several different ways, but a lot of times what we have now is what we call city ham and fresh ham. So right now this would be a fresh ham. What we're going to do is we're going to make this a boneless ham. We're going to cure it and make it into a city ham. But Mark's going to remove the shank now. This is a harder piece to take off if you're not familiar with where that joint is. And this is what your final shank's going to look like. A couple things that you could do with this ham instead of making a city ham out of it. You can make ham steaks. which are great. You can make ham roast, 2 to 3 pound roast for your family. So he's removed that H-bone. Now what he's going to do is he's going to run along that leg bone and remove it. Does that look good for your dog? You'll see he's just going down the seam as that's popping open there. And what we would do, you would leave the ham like this. You would let it soak like this. That way it gets in the inside. You don't ever want to soak it without removing the bone, opening it up first. We would wrap it up, put it in the smokehouse, cook it for 16 to 17 hours and smoke it. And then we'd be able to either cut it in half, make Easter hams, or slice it for deli meat.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of folks out there have been wanting to know each part of the pig. Now we know. Thank you so much. What are we going to cut up next? The sheep?
Lamb. What's the lamb?
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm Lardo.
And I'm Burley, and we're the Moron Brothers.
Got a frog in my throat.
Yeah, well, Tim Farmer and his brother Jonathan been out fishing one night. They come back and they seen some pigs over in the field. Tim said, let's get us one of them pigs. So he pulled over and he jumped out and we're gonna get a pig. Well, the old farmer come running out hollering, and they throwed that pig up in the cab of that truck and took off getting it. Wasn't long, boy. Here comes the sheriff's crews up behind them. Lights are flashing, siren blowing. Jonathan said, oh, what we gonna do now? Tim said, don't worry. He said, here, set that pig up here between us. He said, here, put my cap on his head. He said, there's some sunglasses in the glove compartment. Put them sunglasses on him. I said, look here, there's a sweater laying in the floor, boy. Wrap that sweater around him. They set that pig up between them, put that hat, sunglasses, sweater on him, and they pulled over. Well, here come the sheriff up there, and he had a little deputy with him, one of them little out-of-town guy like Barney Fife, and a little deputy run up there with that flashlight, throwed that flashlight in there, throwed it in Tim's eye. I said, what's your name, boy? I said, Tim Farmer. Throwed over at Jonathan's eye. I said, what's your name? I said, Jonathan Farmer. Throwed in that pig's eye. I said, what's your name, boy? They elbowed him around hard, no pig. I said, Ornick. And the deputy said, well, I don't reckon y'all the ones we're looking for. I said, y'all go on and drive careful. And as he turned to walk away, they heard that sheriff tell that deputy, said, I know just about all them farmer boys around these parks, but I swear I believe Ornick's best looking one of the bunch.
This here's about a hog that I used to have. Well, I had a little hog named Colby, and he used to follow me around. He'd bring me the morning paper, like for me to read about Charlie Brown. Taught him how to bark at the garbage man, showed him how to pee on a tire. When he wanted outside, he'd scratch on the door, head straight for the neighbor's yard. Colby was a mixed-up hog, it was all my fault to treat him like a dog, and he could do anything any old dog could do. Roll over, play dead, do all the tricks real good, and whip any dog in the neighborhood. Colby, they'll never make a hound out of you. A few years went by, Colby got big. I decided I'd tell him that he was a pig. Didn't like it very much, tore the fender right off of my car. So I showed him some pictures of a hog in the book, squinted and squealed and didn't want to look and got mad, rooted the carpet up off my floor. We was watching TV a few nights ago, and the Muppets came on and was his favorite show. I hollered, hey Colby, he was blowing bubbles in the tub. About the time he came out and plopped himself down, Miss Piggy walked on wearing an evening gown. Colby got excited, think the boy fell in love. So we went for a drive in the countryside out to old man Jenkins' farm. I bought the prettiest little gilt that the old man had. Colby held her in his arms. On the way home, I nearly fainted. I looked in the back days of getting acquainted. Was a quick courtship, short honeymoon. Now there's 9 little Colbys running around my living room. Colby was a mixed-up hog. It was all my fault to treat him like a dog. He could do anything any old dog could do. Roll over, play dead, do all the tricks real good, whip any dog in the neighborhood. Colby, they'll never make a ham out of you.
Okay, usually we don't talk about real time, what happens behind the scenes, but the last time you saw us, we were closing the lid of the cooler on the ham, all right? We went to bed, got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure we're gonna be in Garrett County at 7 o'clock. Yes, I woke you
I'm
up.
tired.
Oh my, we're gonna have some more wonderful pig
Yum.
very shortly. But it's been a little over 12, 13, 14 hours.
Okay.
We went over a bit, but still the process is not gonna change much. Let's go ahead, this is real time.
Okay.
It's the next day. We just got back from Garrett County. Let's open this up and see what it looks like. Look where that's sweated.
Yeah. It's still a little warm.
It's gonna be hot,
Will it? Can I pick it up?
so be very careful.
It's warm, but I think I can get it. Yeah, it's still really nice and warm.
All right, as we take this off,
Wow, that smells good and looks
we see
good.
the steam rising, and that water is,
Is it warm?
yep, it'll burn you. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
You gonna be able to do it? There we go.
Got it.
Now look at that.
Oh my goodness, it's
Now, I
steaming.
believe we could eat that right there, but here's what we're gonna do.
Yum.
Oh, that smells delicious. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this side down. Okay, now here's how we're gonna finish this thing up. I'm just gonna cut some cross marks in the top here, score this a little bit.
Can't believe it's still steaming after all
It's
that
still
time.
steaming. It smells absolutely
Oh, wow.
wonderful. But we're just gonna take a little brown sugar, rub in here. Now we've put a little more moisture down in the bottom of the pan. Now we're gonna take some cloves, if you will, just stick a clove in each little square.
Okay.
Now this is just to finish things up. 275 for a couple hours. Let's pop this in.
Okay.
$275 for 2 hours.
Then we get to eat.
See you in a bit. Now I smell wonderful ham.
Lunchtime.
Ready to get
Yes,
out?
I am.
All right, let's do this.
Wow.
Oh man. I tell you what, if you will, let's transfer that onto this plate. Look at that. All right, now I took that end off just to show you what we've got here.
Wow.
And now I'm gonna slice. Now, internal temperature, look how juicy. Look
Wow.
at the juice rolling out of the sides of that as I cut it. Go ahead and take that piece out. Let's just try it. I can't hold back anymore. Now, look at that. It's got the smell. Now let's see what the taste is.
Wow.
Now, if that was appealing to you and you like the way we're doing old-fashioned things, check out Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen Facebook page. I like it. We're trying to get our numbers up there. Also, timfarmerscountrykitchen.com. You might find some recipes you've never seen before. How-tos, all kinds of fun stuff. timfarmerscountrykitchen.com. We post everything on YouTube when we're done. And, sad to say, but it's time for another episode to come to a close.
Aw.
And it's all about
Good times
good friends
and really good eats.
and some yum ham. Let's eat it all.
To order a cookbook or DVD of the show, please call 502-319-0487 or email timfarmerck@gmail.com. Special thanks to Furniture World Superstore, Housewarmings, Lodge Cast Iron, Tater Knob Pottery and Farm. Funding for Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen is brought to you by Diamond Gusset Jeans, the original Gusset Jean. Careful craftsmanship, continual improvement. Diamond Gusset Jeans, born and worn in the USA since 1987.
So, Jill, I know the markets have taken a hit lately. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to touch base. How did Edward Jones come to manage over $800 billion in assets?
Here's our latest market outlook, and there are two things that I'd like to point out.
So that's interesting. You know, we had spoken about that before.
Through FaceTime when you really need it. It's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing.